And now we're on to 4.4, proportional relationships. You guys did a ton of this in 7th grade. Pretty much all of your graphing was proportional relationships. So what we're doing is we're diving right into writing some of those equations that you guys worked on last year. So, learning intention for the day. I am learning to identify and describe proportional relationships using tables, graphs, and equations. Hopefully by the end of this lesson, you already should know how to do a lot of this stuff, but I can recognize when a relationship is proportional. I can find the slope from a table or graph. I can write the equation to represent a proportional relationship, and I can explain what the slope means in a real-world situation. So, at the end of the day, for these problems, our goal is to write an equation in the form y equals mx. Last year, you saw it as y equals kx. We're not doing that. We use m now because m is slope like we talked about before. Little hint. Leave x and y alone. All we're doing is finding m and plugging that in. All right. So let's look at this first example. Write equations of proportional relationships from graphs. Part A, write the equation. Find slope m using the graph. Well, based on what we just did last section, we know we need our rise over run. You have to be aware of the numbers on the sides of the graph. If we just looked at the lines, this would be up 2 over 1. So our slope would be 2 over 1. But if we look at our numbers off to the side, we can see that we're going from 10 to 20. So how do you go from 10 to 20? Well, that's 10. How about on the bottom here, going right to left? Left to right. How do you go from 1 to 2? That's 1. So my rise, the amount going up, is 10. My run, going to the side, is 1. So my slope is 10 over 1. But what is 10 divided by 1? That's just 10. So we just found our slope. We found m. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that value of m to write the equation y equals mx. Well, don't touch x or y. Just plug in what we found for m, 10. We're done. Find the constant of proportionality and interpret its meaning for part B. Well, the constant of proportionality can also be said to be unit rate or the slope. So the constant of proportionality is what? 10. Now, what does it mean for this? What's it mean for this problem? We have number. We didn't even look at any of this. We don't have to look at any of this until it asks us to interpret the meaning. Number of sessions was down here. Cost was up here. For one session, it cost $10. For 2 sessions, it cost $20. 3 sessions, what do you think it's going to cost? $30. So what does our constant of proportionality mean? It's $10 per gymnastic lesson. That's what you have to do for this one. You're using the slope to write an equation, figuring out the constant of proportionality, which is the slope, and then we're saying what it means. A lot of times it's going to be very straightforward. Okay? So, we're going to get straight into this next problem. This was a graph problem. We're going to come back and I'm going to give you some real quick instructions on how to do it anytime you have a graph. This next one, now they just gave us a bunch of words. The cost of bulk peanuts is proportional to the weight of peanuts. At a local grocery store, 2 pounds of peanuts cost $5.80. So first we need to find that unit rate. We're going to write the equation. So if we remember, proportional means fraction. So we got to figure out what those two things are. Well, it's the cost and the weight. So let's find the unit rate. Let's find M. We're going to make a fraction with cost and weight. Based on the example they gave us, the cost was $5.80. The weight was 2 pounds. Now we're going to simplify that. What is $5.80 divided by 2? Well, that's $2.90. So we found our M. We found our unit rate. We're going to use that unit rate to write an equation just like we did up here. So we're going to put X and Y. We don't have to do anything with that. We're plugging in M. Well, our M was 290. That's all you have to do. Finding the constant of proportionality. Again, that's the same thing as the unit rate or the slope. So that's 290. What does this mean? Cost over weight. Interpret the meaning. $2.90 per pound of peanuts. This is nothing new. You guys did this last year. I know you did because I saw it. I saw it happening. Okay? So we did one graph problem. We did one from words. Now you got a table problem. Aubrey is baking oatmeal cookies for the school carnival using the amount shown in the table. The number of cups of flour is proportional to the cups of oats. Write an equation to represent this relationship, then identify the constant of proportionality and interpret its meaning. So again, we have our proportional word. Cups of flour, cups of oats. They gave us a table, X and Y. If we remember our slope formula, it's Y over X. Always, Y over X. So we're going to use that slope formula. Do you remember what the slope formula is? Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. So we need to figure out which ones those are. Let's label the table. X1, X2, X3, X4, Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4. Plug it in. Y2 is 8. Y1 is 4. X2 is 4. X1 is 2. What's 8 minus 4? 4. What's 4 minus 2? 2. Does any number go nicely into both 4 and 2? Yep, 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. What's 2 divided by 1? 2. That's our m. We did all this work down here. 2 over 1 equals 2 equals m. Plug it in to get your formula. Y equals mx. We're not touching x or y. Just plugging in the m that we found. Find the constant of proportionality. Well, that's m. That's 2 over 1, which is just 2. Interpret its meaning. 2 cups of what went first? Well, it's y over x. So 2 cups of flour per cup of oats. So, that's what it is. 3 types of problems. When you're given a table, I guess I missed that a little bit down here. Okay, I'm going to go through that again. Proportional relationships, just plugging in m. Constant proportionality is just 2. Interpret its meaning. 2 cups of, like I said, what? Well, the y comes first. Even though it's second on the chart, it's y over x. So we put y first. 2 cups of flour per cup of oats. Okay. All right. So, just quick notes. Given a table, find slope using the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Plug in for m in y equals mx. Anytime you're given a table and asked to write the equation, that's going to be your process. Go back to the front. Whenever you're just given words, you're given words, create and solve the proportion, which is again what you guys did all last year with the given info. Plug in for m in y equals mx. Same ending, but this time you have to create the proportion. Last one here, given a graph. Find slope using rise over run. Plug in for m in y equals mx. These are the 3 types of problems you're going to see. You've got to be able to do these. Look at a graph, do your rise over run. Given words, figure out which one goes first, which one goes second. If you put it backwards, you're going to be okay as long as you can interpret it. As long as you can say, so if you did 2 over 580, you'd have 1 over $2.90, 1 over $2.90. So you'd say 1 over $2.90, or yeah, 1 over 290 peanuts, you just have to write it out. You do the weight over cost. And finally, again, looking at the table again, use the slope formula, find slope, plug it in. If you have questions, make sure you're asking. We are done with this first part of chapter 4. So make sure you have this stuff done. Make sure you have your notes taken care of. Make sure you have your assignments done so you can start your review. Again, if you have questions, make sure you're asking.